We'll go into the public comment period for our meeting, and you're welcome to come to the, or please come to the podium, speak into the microphone, introduce yourself, and limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less. So with that, go ahead, Ms. Jeffrey. Yes. Somebody in
Were
the
you going to
back row.
speak, Terry, first? You go ahead and give us some background, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Terry Jeffries. I'm a Mason County Commissioner, and I serve as a representative of Mason County on the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. I would like to give you a little bit of background of how we got here. About a year and a half ago, and first of all, I'm also speaking in favor of your of a decision to enter into a local agreement with the Behavioral Health Organization for purchase of the building. About a year and a half ago, stakeholders in the law enforcement community, Mason General Hospital, and people throughout the county who deal with our criminal justice system gathered together as a stakeholder group to come up with brainstorm ideas about how we can address the inappropriate use of both our jail and our hospital for people who are suffering from mental health disorders. We were fortunate enough to come up with the idea of something called a mobile crisis response team to relieve law enforcement from the people in a voluntary capacity whose mental health disorder has resulted in acts that make themselves a public nuisance as well as a danger to themselves and to the community. But this is for voluntary services, or for voluntary treatment for these folks. The state, and almost simultaneous to this work, the state legislature appropriated funds to a grant program to help relieve the overuse or the lack of space in Western State and Eastern State Hospital for people that were involuntarily committed with mental health disorders. And that the Behavioral Health Organization, knowing we still had more work to do to try to relieve to divert inappropriate use of these facilities here in Mason County, submitted a grant application for an evidence-based procedure of creating a mental health triage. And this is an involuntary mental health triage, and that triage facility would serve as an alternative for law enforcement and first responders who receive a call. And I invite people in the law enforcement community to talk about how they would use that in their own practices. But I hear stories, and I'm going to share one story that I've heard over and over again in our stakeholder meetings. You have a person whose mental health disorder has caused them to be a public nuisance. And you get a call from a business owner who has determined that asking the police to come move this person along. Well, the person hasn't broken the law. We get another call if this person's back out on the street within a few hours. I've heard stories about people, law enforcement taking up to 6 hours to try to figure out what to do with this person because there is no alternative. Then have to see if they finally break the law. Once they break the law, they say, yes, now we have something we can do with the person in jail. If you know anything about mental health disorder, you know that is almost always the wrong place for these people to be. They're decompensated more often than not and just need to be stabilized and be put onto a trajectory of proper treatment. A triage facility will allow these types of situations for a choice to be made. The law enforcement officer will give them a choice. You have the choice of either going to jail or going over to the triage center, getting stabilized, and be put into a treatment program. So we we submitted a grant application and had requested $2 million, even though we thought we probably needed more like $3 million, but it was a start. We received $1 million. Now this is barely enough to do what we needed to do, and given that amount, there needed to be additional monies put to be able to purchase a site and then do the renovations. Mason County Board of Commissioners has stepped up, and tomorrow we will approve in our local group with Behavioral Health Organization Organization to grant $275,000 for the purchase of a site. When we received the grant, even before we received the grant, I helped search for an appropriate facility in the county that could serve the purposes of triage facility. Our parameters were we needed at least 6,000 square feet. We'd like to have a sprinkler system already installed, and like to have a coastal services, but that wasn't essential. So I put the word out to every realtor I know, and we went on the search for the facility. We had already looked at the PUD 3 building, your building downtown, and noted that it was a very, very good site, because ultimately we'd like to also, on the upper floor, be able to put a medical detox facility. The closest one to us is Port Angeles. There might be one open in Chehalis, but we know that the bed space will be short, and it will be suffering with waiting lists as well. So we're here before you, asking you to consider to provide, enter into this interlocal agreement, hopefully for the sum of $275,000, the amount that has been granted by the Mason County, to serve an incredibly vital need. The City of Shelton would prefer that the location not be PUD3, and has stepped up and graciously offered some property in an alternate location. We put pencil to paper and determined that building from the ground up, we would not be able to build a 6,000 square foot facility, which was a design and a price that had been established by an architect who spoke about, I think, 3 or 4 of these. I wish somebody from the BHO was here to confirm that, but I did walk through the PUD3 building with this architect, and he's very well versed on where we could save some money, but on what was absolutely needed. I'm very thankful and gracious for the gracious offer from the City of Shelton. I believe you me, I would much rather be good neighbors with everybody and be able to find a suitable site, but with the limited number of available facilities in Mason County, we just simply don't have an alternative, and building from the ground up is not really possible.
Commissioner, you have your little past 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for your consent.
Yes.
Hey Terry, thank you for coming. Always a pleasure to talk with you. And as you went through, my apologies, I don't hear the best. And
My apologies. I speak awfully soft.
we have different backgrounds to do this. This 75,000, go that a little louder and plainer that you talked about.
The Mason County Board of Commissioners, Mason County does collect a 1/10 of 1% sales tax for mental health services and substance abuse services. Because of a series of reasons, we have enough fund balance to be able to take some of the cash balance we have in that fund to be able to put it towards the purchase of the building. One of the things I found out, the Behavioral Health Organization mostly operates with Medicaid-funded services. Medicaid funding is very, very restrictive about what you can and cannot do, and probably the most restrictive thing is that you can't purchase or build capital facilities. You can't provide housing for people who are being treated for mental health and substance abuse services, which is another hurdle we in this field have to try to overcome. So they have agreed to utilize $275,000 towards the purchase of any.
So this is capital, not operational.
That's for the capital. The operational will be paid for by Medicaid coverage of the people who are being served. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Jeffrey, here's the, all right. Mrs. Zerbacek, Mary Jean.
Thank you. My name is Mary Jean Herbacek. I live at 60 West Shadow Valley Drive in Shelton, and I'm a PUD3 member, I guess is how it works. I would like to speak on behalf of, for the sale to the mental health organization. In the course of my lifetime, I have had personal experience with mental health issues. And I, at the tender age of 18, got to visit a family member at a major city hospital who was in mental health treatment. I also, during my tenure with Sheriff Salisbury, had occasion to go over to the Mason County Jail. And for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to visit, which is probably most of you, I would guess, it's on a good day, it probably wouldn't be a good experience. But on a few occasions, there were some people who were being admitted while I was doing my business for the sheriff over there, who clearly needed help. And I'm not a medical professional, but it was also obvious that they needed more help than the corrections officers could give. I don't think that putting people in jail just to get them off the street is the right thing to do either. When I was a young person, I lived outside Washington, D.C. And I used to go to the city on a fairly regular basis. And in the middle of winter, in the middle of January, when it's 20 degrees or 10 degrees or whatever, you'd see homeless people sleeping on grates over the subway system because there were Americans up there. And the sad part was that they would be asked, would you like to come to our shelter? And the answer was, no, I like it here. And in many cases, the people who said that weren't competent to make that decision. I can go back to the 60s and 70s where, because mental institutions were so poorly managed, basically the United States decided, well, we'll just close all the mental institutions and families can take care of them, or hospitals, or somebody's a very busy person in the mental health world. That somebody never came about. And now we have all these people who need help and don't understand that they need help. And in this particular case, in Mason County, really don't have a lot of places to go to look for it. I don't know what kind of services a triage center would offer to families who are experiencing a mental health issue. Maybe just phone guidance or something. But we have really no resource right now for people to go and even ask the questions. Mental health is considered to be pretty much a stigma, and it shouldn't be. I often remind people that you can have a bad heart, you can have bad lungs, you can get cancer, you can break a leg. Your brain is just a part of your body, and it's a chemical process. And it can go bad just like any other part of your body. So to think that people with mental illnesses are somehow different, they're not. It's just a physical manifestation of what you can't see. And I know that mental health scares a lot of people, particularly mentally ill people. We don't know how to react to them. And I think that's something that society has just kind of put on ourselves. I don't think that that's the right way to treat people. I think that this particular facility would provide compassion to those people and their families. And again, I don't see it being a long-term mental health hospital. I think I read one comment that Shelton will end up being the mental health home for Washington State. I don't see it being Western State Hospital. That's not the intent of this. But the intent is to find people the help that they need, and you have to start somewhere. And you should start in your own community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zerbacek. Next person who has signed in to speak is Marilyn Vogler.
Thank you, Marilyn Vogler, 420 East Poplar, and I am a PUD3 customer. I spoke with someone on your staff about this and was told, well, you have to consider customers. I want to speak as a customer in favor of the intergovernmental agreement. I would like to see you offer this building for this program at the $275,000 that the county is willing to put in it. I am also a member of the Shelton Poverty Advisory Team, and though I don't speak for them, I'm critically aware of these issues because of the work we do. We have no facility in the county to serve the purpose that this would serve. Right now, we are expending tremendous resources by groups that don't have funding specifically for this. We are engaging people in activities in caring for people who are creating public disturbance, people who do not have training to handle cases like this. It's been mentioned that they may be taken to the hospital, they may be picked up by the police department. Barb Wiese contacted me and said, was I coming to the hearing tonight? She couldn't make it. She wanted me to let you know that the hospital has taken to conveying, to transporting people who are left at the hospital to Community Lifeline to deal with issues. That's how badly our community needs a facility to provide immediate, 24-hour crisis care when persons with mental disability, mental disease, mental issues act out, endanger themselves, endanger someone else. I spoke with Sheriff Moody about Chief Moody about this. Is that a phone call or not? I spoke with Chief Moody about this when he was visiting staff, and his comment was, give me 6 beds and I can take care of most of the issues the police department encounters. Because what happens is that a person gets picked up, they get stabilized, and they're back on the street in 2 or 3 hours. And they get picked up, and they get jailed, and they're back on the street in a day or 2. And they get picked up, and they go to the hospital, and they get taken to Community Lifeline, and there's nobody there to deal with them, so they're back on the street, and one of Chief Moody's people gets called again. This is not serving our community. I know you prioritize serving your customers, but as a customer, I'm also a member of this community, and I ask you to consider that helping provide this service is a way of serving your community and therefore your customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. Next on our list is Commissioner Kathy McDowell.
Good evening, PUD Commissioners. I'm glad to be here. I'm going to be first speaking as a citizen of Shelton. At this point, right at this minute, I'm not a commissioner right now. I'm speaking from a citizen's point of view. We have a main shopping street in Shelton we're trying to develop into our shopping and our restaurant street. That's Railroad Avenue. We also have Coda Street that we are trying to develop into an arts district for, anything that has to do with art that people would come to Shelton and visit and explore. My concern also is this is awfully close to a residential neighborhood. And I'm concerned about that also. I truly, 100% in my heart believe that we have to have this. We need this facility. I personally don't believe that building, that facility is in the correct spot. Just because of the shopping and the residential. Now I'm going to come from a city's point of view, and as a commissioner, I know, I totally thoroughly understand the need for this, and I totally understand the burden it puts on our police department and our sheriff's department to transport the people back on the street. They take them to Thurston County, maybe, then they're back, and that takes time out. And so I thoroughly understand as a commissioner the need for the facility. My concern is the placement where the building is. And as a citizen, I'm not for that place. I'm not for that building, that facility to be in the neighborhood, that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McDowell. Next person on our list is Jeannie Raywald.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Jeannie Raywald, the Executive Director for Mason Matters. And I did notice that some representatives from the PHO are here, so it would be good to hear from them also. As well as the Executive Director for Mason Matters, I am on the advisory committee for the PHO for Thurston and Mason County. And I really feel like we have people walking around downtown already that are on drugs, they have mental health issues. And so providing a place downtown for them to go and be treated where they will be safe and the community will be safe. I don't know how many people have had an opportunity to go to the Thurston County Triage Center, but it's very well done and it's very impressive. And I think that it would be a good use for this building, so I am in support of the sale. I brought some statistics because Mason Matters is known for providing data, local data, and we are also coordinating the community health improvement plan. We're rolling out a campaign in January, and it's been around a little bit. It's called Moving Mason Forward. And you'll be seeing a lot about that in the future, but the statistics I brought today are grim and they're nationwide, but in Mason County, I think because we're a smaller community, we see it more. Directly or indirectly, every community is affected by drug abuse and addiction, as is every family. Drugs take a tremendous toll on our society at many levels. Substance abuse cost, and this was statistics from 15 years ago, our nation more than $484 billion per year. And if you compare that to the cost of diabetes, that's $131.7 billion annually. And cancer cost society $171.6 billion annually. So talking about a lot of money being expended because we're not treating people for the problems that they have. This burden affects all of us, not just the people that have found themselves addicted or with depression or anxiety or schizophrenia. People with mental illness are particularly at risk for problems related to substance abuse. And child abuse and neglect cases substantiated by Child Protective Services involve some degree of substance abuse over 50% of the time. So our community is affected by homelessness. 31% of American homeless suffer from drug abuse or alcoholism. Crime, as many as 60% of adults in federal prison are there for drug-related crimes. Education, children born of parents that are on substances have a higher need for special education in school and in the workplace. 2 or more days of work in the past month can be attributed to employees using illicit drugs and having 3 or more employers in the past year, so they jump from job to job. Addiction is an equal opportunity disease. The effects of addiction reach across a person's lifespan, across cultures, and across genders. PHO is here, so I'll skip that page. They can answer it correctly. In 2014, 45% of Mason County 10th graders felt so sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more that they stopped doing their usual activities. So that's an indication of depression and mental health issues that could, end up turning into problems with substance abuse. So in the end, I would support this. I'm all out, and I didn't say I live at 1017 North 8th in Shelton, and I'm a PUD3 customer and have been since 1992. And I think that we have a great opportunity here to do some things that will help our community create this culture of health and wellness and bring more people to the community for the economy as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeannie. Next on my list is Sheriff Salisbury.
Casey Salzberg, Mason County Sheriff. Aside from representing Mason County, for the last few years I've represented the Washington State Sheriff's Association, the president of that association for the state for a number of years, and just finished as the president of the Washington State Sheriff's and Police Chiefs Association for the state of Washington. Both of those organizations have been working very, very hard for a long time to figure out the answer to the problem of dealing with people with mental health. Currently, this is my 29th year of being a first responder to those in need. They have serious mental health issues. Not a lot has changed in 29 years. I also take credit for operating the largest mental health institution in Mason County, Mason County Jail. I would refer you, if you get a chance, to read an article by Sheriff Paul Pastor of Pierce County. Dr. Pastor writes, jails are not mental health institutions, and mental health institutions were never meant to be jails. We truly aren't really treating people in those jails, and as I said earlier, numerous times people come into our jail and they rotate through the system up to Western State, and we sit and wait with those people in there, really not much for treatment. Send them to Western State, they determine that they're not competent to stand trial, they're released back into the community, and they start through this cycle again. We see the same people with nothing in between to help. For those of you that don't know, the governor's proposal this year is for $300 million. And listen carefully with the proposal is. I'm not saying this is what's happened, this is from the governor's office. The governor's proposal is to move 830 full-time civil commitment beds to community-based treatment by 2020. Where are you going to move to in Mason County if you don't have some type of facility like this? His proposal also includes 9 new 16-bed community behavioral health hospitals. 16 beds, 9 of them for the state of Washington. Those are going to be filled quickly. And we're looking at taking them right back to jails just like Mason County. The governor's also proposed 3 additional mobile crisis response teams. 3 for 39 counties in the state of Washington. That concerns me. I don't think that's enough. And also subscribing to a couple additional walk-in centers and housing beds. This clearly is not enough. And in Mason County, I've watched the same people for almost 30 years come into the system and go back out, the same people we're dealing with, at a tremendous cost to our jail, and more so a tremendous cost to the people in our community that are not being served that should be helped. In many of these circumstances, if they had a place to go, to be seen somebody, I hope at that time we wouldn't see them rotating through the system. I think Chief Moody would be able to attest that coming from the state of California, it's probably not any different there than it is here. This is a nationwide problem. But in Mason County, we don't have a place to take people. And you'd be welcome to come down and walk through my jail anytime you like and see what it's like to work in a place like that and the difficulties. And to me, the pure sadness that we're not taking care of people in our community the way we should be. I think this is an opportunity to do something right now in the community. I'm not going to tell the city or make recommendations to the city what their choice would be on where to place this facility. But I do stand behind that we do have a need for this in Mason County, not transporting back and forth to Thurston County and taking their facilities, just simply not cost effective. Our people will beat off the street hours a day doing that, and you won't have people on patrol. So I do support this. The city will have to make their determination. The only other thing I am concerned about is I hope that due consideration will be given to the idea of having in place a long-term financial plan. I know so many times we become involved with things in Mason County that sound like a great idea, and then a few years later there's no money. And so I hope that there's been long-term consideration given to this plan. It's something we need to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Salisbury. Next on the list is Dennis Neal.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dennis Neal. I'm the owner of Northwest Resources. I purchased the other building that you had back there and built a 16-bed non-IMD residential treatment center for men And I'm here tonight to support the sale of this building and to help support everybody who's talking about the need. One of the things that happens is, that I think is a shame, is the stigmatism that goes along with mental health and substance abuse, and the services that are supplied to those people, because it's so misunderstood. People they get scared behind what that really is, and what does this facility look like? Who's going to be there? Who's going to work there? And I believe that there was some of the same fears around when I built the residential inpatient treatment center. Some people were worried about that we were going to, because we were treating people with the disease of addiction, we were going to be attracting drug addicts to that area. And the reality is that when I purchased that property, the drug addicts were there. They were already living in the park that was right there. And we cleaned up the needles and the bottles and the other things every day. And that problem's been eliminated, and now the people, at least the men, have a place to be treated, and to be treated with respect and dignity, type of thing. I see it as a much needed service. It would be great if it was right next door to us, that we could put the detox facility, that they get the EMT on the bottom, and if we could eventually get the detox filter on the top, that would help support that. That would bring industry to Shelton that currently isn't here, which currently isn't in Thurston County, which is in Mason County. Something's happening in Lewis County, but it's a much needed service that will only bring jobs along with it too. And it'd be nice if people could look at it not as, in a negative sense, but it's actual medical treatment that's going on there. It's my hope that in the future that we'll be able to also offer primary care services, primary medical care services to individuals down there too, which will only bring, again, more jobs to downtown Shelton. So that's my support. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Neal. Tom Davis.
Thank you, and good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tom Davis. I'm the volunteer veteran medical coordinator here in Mason County. I work with veterans in the criminal justice system, and from time to time, some of the veterans do have mental health conditions, which is beyond our ability to cope with. I'm also been involved in real estate for about 35 years. And I'd like to give you just maybe a little bit different tact. I made some notes here. I was originally going to speak about the need, but the need is apparent. And I think that another perspective might be worthy at this time. It's important to remember that all the agencies involved in this proposed transaction are public agencies. So when you consider your decision, I'd like you to consider having your decision based on what is in the best interest of the public good. And I couldn't seem to get past this one particular sticking point, is that the ratepayers, which are the taxpayers also, have already paid for that building once before. And I understand that probably doesn't have a little, very much of a practical argument, but that's the fact. They paid for it once before, and basically, right now, we're being asked to pay for it again. And I don't quite understand that, especially in light that, that there's a negative value at this point to that particular structure that you've experienced, this board and this agency has experienced, and the negative value is a minus $200,000. You have an opportunity here and your opportunity is to contribute something that is beneficial to the community by no small standard, and to relieve yourself at the same time of a liability, a financial liability. There are no potential buyers on the table. There are no potential offers on the table here, but ours. There's not like they're lining it up. It's been on the market for 5+ years at this time. The longer a piece of real estate stays on the market, the more stigma it attracts. Northwest Resources, which would be the neighbor, has improved this neighborhood. They have done something that was contrary to everybody's opinion. They've actually made that neighborhood better and safer, more controlled, more structured. The people who are going to and from that particular building are doing so to get treatment. That's exactly where you want them to be. The people who are going to be involved in participating in this building are people who are in need of treatment. This is an opportunity, and it couldn't be better, more perfectly placed than right next to Northwest Resources. And I would argue that an expansion of that area for mental health and chemical dependency treatment is worth considering. With all that in mind, I would suggest that you just quit clearing the building over. I think that you should consider that. I know hasn't been the discussion on the table, but when you look at it in its various components, you realize that it benefits you, it benefits us, it benefits the greater community good. It's the perfect decision. It's fast, it's easy, and let us get on with meeting the need. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. That concludes the people that signed in on our first sign-in sheet. I have a second sheet here with Bud Blake.
Good evening. My name is Bud Blake, and I'm a Thurston County Commissioner, and I'm also the chair of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. And I'm here acting in capacity of both, but primarily the Behavioral Health Board. Also, Commissioner Wolf cannot be here tonight. I'm speaking on her behalf, and she also encourages the transfer of this building. But I should note, say to you that I'm not here to get into the details of you as a commissioner or the body of people, the constituents that you represent, in terms of the details of how the building should be converted or not. I'd like to give you a little bit broader picture in terms of how the Behavioral Health Organization came about, and actually the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization came about. It came from the Regional Support Network to the Behavioral Health Organization. Commissioner Wolf and I voted in unison to have Mason County and Thurston County join together in terms of helping the chemical dependency and mental health problems that we have in both counties. And we were very, very excited about that vote in terms of bringing those two together. That was in April of this year, by the way. And by September of this year, we opened up ours in the sense of Thurston, because we have Commissioner Jeffries here on the board, and the third commissioner. But the Thurston version of the triage center on September 5th, we opened that up. And that's absolutely wonderful, because from that point on, we gave our community, specifically the law enforcement, a tool in the toolbox of what they needed to help out in terms of those crimes that were committed by individuals, say such as vagrancy or jaywalking or whatever, but didn't have a mental health or chemical dependency issue, be able to take them to the triage center, enter them into that facility, and in that way, in the process, that is no way near shape, form, or way of a hospital whatsoever. We're not doing that. We don't even have a regulatory oversight to have a hospital there. Then they're assessed, that person, that client is assessed, needs to take further action for treatment, or return to their families, or return to some other element to help them out in terms of their treatment. So it's working wonderfully, and yet we still have some growing pains. I won't lie to you there, where we were started off just voluntary, and now we're at the point where we're involuntary. And what I mean by that is fully operationalize that by having a prosecuting attorney there 24/7. We have a public defender 24/7. Now we're entering to where we have a court commissioner there to be able to prosecute those crimes that person committed, and then that way it's handled right there on the thing. Now, I don't want to get into details, but that's after the 72 hours. This is all great stuff because that person who committed that small minor crime still has to be compensated or has to pay its penalty. But at the same time, they don't go to the bigger jail, if you will. We can say it that way, at $110 a night. So we're actually going to have a wonderful tool in that toolbox. I go back to that saying there. And that way, we actually help the people, help the community, and it benefits business, it benefits families enormously, and it's just working wonderfully. Well, the good news is we want to do this in Mason County, as you can see, and moving forward with some of the things we have as far as another tool in the toolbox for Mason County. In addition to that, we are working on detox. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on where you want to see it, we contract out that for detox. But I can tell you that we're moving in a direction over the years to actually have our own detox center here for Thurston Mason. So now look at it from that standpoint. You have all the tools you need, pretty much all the tools you need to help that law enforcement elements both in Thurston and Mason County. And I think that's actually wonderful. So we look forward to moving forward, regardless of where this outcome goes. We're going to be there for Mason County, Thurston County will be, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Blake. Next on our list is Joe Lawless.
Good evening, my name is Joe Lawless, and I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization. And here I just want to say a few things. A lot of great stuff has been covered already by Commissioner Blake and Commissioner Jeffries and some of the folks in attendance. And just want to add that for us, I mean, my job is to ensure that we have quality services in our Thurston and Mason region since we've been combined BHO in beginning in April of this year. Commissioner Blake talked about the great services that we have in Thurston with the new triage, and we felt really, really honored and we were really grateful when we were awarded this Commerce grant to bring a new facility to Mason County. Part of our goal as the BHO is really bringing that parity to Mason County in particular. We've expanded our advisory board and added several new advisory board members, such as Jeannie Raywald and some other folks. We've had more providers open up in the Mason Transit Building. We have Catholic Community Services expanded there. They just had a grand opening, I want to say a couple of months ago. And we're also in talks right now, and Commissioner Blake knows this, with bringing a brand new mental health outpatient provider to Mason County. That's in the works. And then we did an RFP just a couple of months ago to award a mobile outreach team specific to Mason County that went to telecare. They will also open up their office right out of the transit center. So we are working really, really hard to ensure that good services are here. I can tell you that right now, or this year, it looks like we will send over 100 people, 100 Mason County residents out of our region for inpatient mental health care that could be served right here. It makes it really tough to coordinate care when they come back into the community, or to find housing or shelters, or they stay in the jail, as the sheriff mentioned. So this facility is certainly needed here, it's certainly needed in our region. So we absolutely support that. Can also say that the location, Dennis spoke to the proximity to Northwest Resources. It does make for easy transition, and there will certainly be folks that need to be transferred once they could stabilize in this triage to Northwest Resources for residential. And in looking in the future, there is that building, that location actually gives us the possibility of having a detox facility in the future on the second floor, which is another huge need. As Commissioner Blake mentioned, everyone in the Thurston and Mason region now is unfortunately has to go outside of our region, which is added cost and also takes away from coordination of care. So again, just thank you for your time, and we are absolutely in support of this project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Avalos. Okay, I have that accent on the wrong syllable. There were a few people that came in during the meeting, and I would like to invite, if you didn't get a chance to sign in, please come up and sign in before you leave. But if there is anyone else that would like to comment, please feel free to come and introduce yourself and comment.
Would you like me to sign in? Good evening, my name is Kevin Hansen. I'm the jail chief for Chief Salisbury. He brought me in here to Mason County September 1st of this year to run his jail. And I come from Lewis County. I was there for 25 years, and I was on the board of mental health for Cascade Mental Health down there as a treasurer for the last 3 years. And so I've been actively involved in mental health capacity. Have pretty heavily in the last 4 or 5 years down in Lewis County. One of the things I noticed when I came to Mason County here is the resources are lacking, should I say. And I told the sheriff when he brought me in here that it was like walking back 20 years. And that's just not because of the jail, it's just about everything that we do here, we're just behind. And this whole thing about this mental health business and the jail being the largest mental health institution in the county is honest to God truth. 90% of the people in there suffer from either mental health issues or chemical dependency issues. So we're talking about expanding our horizons and expanding our services here. You know, an inpatient mental health treatment center is absolutely necessary. You know, we're spending $110 or $105 a day to put people in jail that shouldn't be in jail. They don't belong there. You know, there are people that have an illness, and it's a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. So I'm just telling you that those people don't belong in jail, and I think that there's lots better options than that. So, you know, just want to share that with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hansen. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to comment? If not, then this public hearing will be adjourned.